My inbox and Facebook group blow up with questions about PCSing. People stressed, confused, and getting screwed by the system. After 5 PCS moves and hundreds of questions answered, I'm giving you the ultimate no BS playbook to make your PCS move smoother, cheaper, and way less stressful. So let's dig in. All right, so pre-move, some admin and money hacks. The very first thing is that you should definitely lean towards doing a partial PPM like paper move or Diddy move, it was formerly known as a Diddy move, which basically means that the government is going to reimburse you by weight for your move across the country. And it's almost always, in fact, I would say always, but I'm sure there's some weird exception, worth it, because even if you just moved an empty trailer, the government reimburses you by weight and you can move all your stuff and you can make it worthwhile because the amount they compensate you is more than if you were to just have them pay for somebody else to move your stuff. If you have a truck and a need for a trailer, you can go ahead and buy the trailer because you're going to be reimbursed for the move and then you get a trailer out of it. Now, you may not cover the entire cost of the trailer, but you could consider it a very significant down payment on buying said trailer as opposed to if you just rent the trailer and get reimbursed for that amount. You should know your entitlement. So go to the base finance office and clarify every single thing. There's going to be all these different acronyms like DLE and whatever, like all these different moving allowances, including per diem and food and travel and mileage and weight. And like, there's all kinds of stuff that's always changing. And so if you just go to your finance office and ask all the questions on your move ahead of time, you'll make sure that you are aware of every allowance that's out there for you so you can make the best decisions and avoid paying things out of pocket. Next, you should create a PCS binder, like a full-on binder with all of your important documents. I mean, this could be your TRICARE docs, your DEERS info, like your dependent info, like birth certs, social security, copies of licenses, all your vehicle, deeds, or any important documents like that, like titles, your powers of attorney, your pet documents and records, like vaccines and veterinary stuff and all that, medical records, of course, a copy of your orders, any school documents, or anything that's like incredibly important. Put it into a binder and keep that binder with you. Do not let it get sucked into the move. If you're moving across regions within the TRICARE world, make sure that you update your TRICARE region as you're moving or right before you move so that like the day before or the day after, like don't forget that process. You want to make sure you're in that TRICARE system accurately as soon as possible. Set the change of your address early. Now, you may not know the exact address you're moving to yet, and that's fine, but you need to set a hold for your mail and then be able to adjust where that mail goes so that you don't just have stuff getting lost. It's still getting mailed to your previous address when you're already moving, because you just may never see that again. And if it's important documents, you need to set up a forward as soon as possible. Okay, now for the actual move, we're going to dig into some prep and packing. The very first thing is do a video walkthrough of everything you own. Now, I know that sounds tedious, but look, you're going to want to be able to prove that you had the thing and it's not broken, because unfortunately, sometimes things get broken or get disappeared in transit, and you need to make sure you have a record of all of it and the condition of it. The easiest way is just to walk through and video things, and then ultimately point at and identify expensive items, maybe not every item, and or you could take photo catalog of everything, but the video is faster. I would then ensure anything high value. So you can determine that. For me, I'd say anything over $500 or $1,000, take a picture. And if it's got a serial number like a computer or a gaming system, write the serial number down and just keep a log of all of that stuff. Now, if you're packing everything yourself with boxes, you should color code and or label every box, every room, so that it's easy to distribute when you get it back to your house. But your movers can and should be able to do this as well. So just ensure that they are identifying everything by room on the packaging and the boxes so that everything that was in your master bedroom ends up in the new master bedroom and you're not having to like sort stuff all over the house, because nothing's more frustrating than having all your boxes dropped in the living room because they didn't know where anything was. And now you're like, well, I got to carry this up 3 steps of stairs, as opposed to just having it get dropped off 3 steps of stairs up by the moving company. I would recommend using large Ziploc bags for, say, drawer contents, like all of your utensils go in a bag, right? Could be a Ziploc, could be a trash, like whatever, but put all of your stuff into items that make it easier to find. So put all your utensils in a bag, put all your, your desk stuff in a bag, right? So that's just easy. It's all, hey, this is all the stuff for my desk. And then you put it in your desk instead of having to hunt it out of boxes, because they'll just dump it all in a box. Now, if you really want to get crazy, you get a whole bunch of those like vacuum seal bags, and you could seal every article of your clothing from all your drawers that the stuff you're not carrying personally on your person or with you in the vehicle. So it's all takes up a lot less space and it's organized by drawer. That's on you. I was okay with most of my clothes just getting tossed into a box and then pulling them back out and putting them in the drawer, because for me, the vacuum sealing wasn't a huge time saving, but I understand the appeal. You can zip tie all your hangers together so that when they get hung up in the box, all of the hangers from like one person's section of the closet, like maybe all your uniform items or whatever. I'd keep your uniform items with you, but you can ziplock this stuff so that all of one person's items go in the same hanging bag and you can keep it all together. I would definitely pre-pack all your spices and liquids and anything that could leak, like even if you have to like tape the lid up, but anything that you think could spill or leak or blow up all over the place, like individually, you could Ziploc bag it, you can wrap it, you can put all of it together, but like the last thing you want is your Dawn dish soap exploding in a bag that has all kinds of other stuff and now you just destroyed everything, especially if it somehow got mixed in with like clothes or whatever. Another way to work on this would be inventorying room by room. Now, to be fair, your movers will be able to do all of this, but you want to be hands-on while they're doing this, and or you want to have a list of everything ahead of time. I know it's tedious, but it really will help you in the long run. And then on the boxes, you can put your name and contact info just in case it gets lost in translation at like a storage facility. Now they know exactly who to contact with their stuff. Bonus points on the packing. We're going to talk about the do not pack stuff, right? The strategy behind this. Basically, you should designate an entire room and or a closet, like a space in the house that you can put everything into and shut. And any and all things that you do not want moved goes in there. So it might be one bedroom, one closet, one office, one bathroom, whatever. And you put everything in there. That should be all the things you plan on taking with you during the move. For me, during my last move, that was like all my YouTube equipment, all my camera equipment, all my computers, laptops, cell phone, my orders, my PCS binder, like all of those things that I just did not or could not want to move or lose. Any alcohol you have, right? If you're driving, you can take the alcohol in your car, but they won't ship it usually. And so that's a whole thing. But like any of the stuff that you're personally moving or you don't want to let out of your sight, right? I would not necessarily say like your TV, because you're going to want them to probably ship that massive thing, but your Xbox, or your computer or whatever, all of those items, put them somewhere and then tell the movers, do not touch this room. That's all my stuff. Right? And then make sure that nothing in that room does need to get shipped or you'll end up with something you don't know what to do with. I would also add in there some items like maybe your medications, passport, any of these very important documents that you don't want to lose, any military gear, maybe some chargers for your phone stuff. If you have firearms, like all the stuff, right, that you don't want movers to move or see, put there. Maybe you've got some adult toys between you and your significant other. I don't know. I will tell you, totally didn't happen to me, let's say asking for a friend, that if I was asking for a friend, having an adult toy or two, that a mover walks into the garage in front of your, at the time, wife and goes, "Where do you want this?" Pretty awkward. Again, I would assume for a friend that would be hilarious to me and not so hilarious to him and not so funny to his spouse at the time. And then as a pro tip, I'd probably make that room like one that's further away from everything the movers are going to do so it doesn't just get wrapped up in the chaos. It's like the last room they would get to. That makes it a little easier, but you can also just like tape the door off or whatever you got to do to be like, don't touch that one. If you're looking to buy a house, right, get started early. So figure out what that BAH is going to look like, how much you're going to be pre-approved for. Get with a real estate agent or a lender. We're happy to make an intro. If you scan this QR code, I will gladly introduce you to agents and lenders within our community. These are people that we know personally or we can recommend or come very highly recommended from people who've moved to that area, and we would be happy to make an introduction so that they can help you and point you in the right direction for buying a house. Also, it's not always the right decision to buy, so make sure you know what you're doing, and check out some of our real estate videos on the VA loan, house hacking, and some strategies there that can really help you profit in the long run, and know that sometimes it's okay to rent. I did that too, even after investing. But if you do plan to buy, you're going to want to start that VA home loan process a little bit early and start getting ahead of stuff. It might even be worth, depending on where you're moving, to fly out and look for houses and make a decision and then fly home. Like take leave before you move so you can close the house before you get out there. And then you really need to figure out, I get this question all the time. I'm not going to go super deep into it on this, but if you own a house right now, do you want to sell it or rent it? And there's a ton that goes into that. I've got a YouTube video or two that are specifically about that deep dive, but I give you the super short answer. If you plan to live there again and you want to own more rentals there, great. Or if it cash flows a ton, great. But if it's going to cost you money out of pocket and you have some equity, might be time to cut it loose. That's like the super short, super sweet, but there's a lot of variables that go into that. And I've got both a blog post and a YouTube video to help point you in the right direction. So go to the website, go to the YouTube and search buy or rent my home or buy or rent, and it'll pop up, and go do your homework. Okay, now on moving day, make sure that you tour the whole house with the movers. So you can point out the room that they don't go into, talk through all the things, answer any of their questions, and make sure that they know exactly what they're doing ahead of time before they start. You're going to want to track inventory. Now, they're actually going to make you do this. Like, they're going to give you a spreadsheet and you document where things are coming from as you go and where the boxes are coming from. And so they're going to help you stay on top of that. Actually take it seriously, because on the back end, when things are missing or broken, that's what covers your butt. If you're feeling friendly, it may be a good idea to tip the movers. Like, the military is going to pay for them and everything, but you know, these guys are moving your entire house. They're working hard. Depending on where you're at, it may be very hot or very cold. You know, it never hurts. If nothing else, offer them drinks, let them use the restroom. Like, maybe, I don't think you can buy them a beer, but like, you know, be nice, right? Offer them some food, do whatever. But they would love if you gave them 20, 40 bucks. I don't know what the going rate is, but if you tipped them at the end of the day for their help, that goes a long way, right? And so, you know, little things you can do to ensure your movers are happy while they're handling all of your valuable stuff, it probably goes a long way in your valuable stuff being taken care of. Now, when you receive all your stuff, again, maybe tipping the movers, you know, they're going to work better when they're fed and happy and hungry and all that. Maybe help them with all that stuff. But also, you need to make sure you're going through the inventory and checking stuff off to ensure you've got everything when you're receiving all your goods. If you can do a partial PPM, that means you ship some of the stuff ahead of time. Go ahead and do that. Ship some of the stuff that you're going to want early access to, and then wait until you actually move out to ship the rest of the stuff. That gets you ahead of the game. Also, if you're going to need temporary lodging allowance like TLA, make sure you get with your finance office, but you can stay in a hotel on base. There's often some Airbnb exemptions, but you can actually utilize these opportunities to have a way to pay for a hotel or whatever. Like when we first moved to Hawaii, we stayed in a hotel room on base, like the lodge, for like 2-3 weeks, fully paid, BAH, whatever, while we were waiting on base housing to open up. So make sure you take advantage and get ahead of finding yourself a place to move. You don't want to be just stuck trying to find a hotel last minute. It never hurts to pack like you're camping, right? Bring some air mattresses, some utensils, and some basic amenities with you, just so that if you get stuck along the way, you know, or your stuff gets delayed, or maybe you find that there's no hotel room, like you're better safe than sorry if you prep ahead of time. If you have bikes, scooters, and things like that your kid might use to like burn some steam, it might be worth sending that stuff ahead of time as well. And I would keep like a basic toolkit and your cleaning supplies with you, or at least accessible, just because you may want that for both taking stuff apart and building stuff at the new location. So it probably just makes sense to keep that stuff on hand. And once all the move stuff's done, you're either going to need to pay somebody to clean your house, especially if it's base housing, or you're going to need to clean it yourself to get your deposit back. And so you're going to want some of that stuff on hand so you don't ship all your cleaning supplies and then go have to buy new cleaning supplies. Now, if you have a pet, you're going to want to make sure you know the rules of wherever you're traveling. Like, for example, if you're traveling to Hawaii on orders with a pet, they have very strict rabies issues. So you have to do quarantine and all this stuff. You have to get tests ahead of time and do quarantine and whatever to bring a dog out to Hawaii. And so you're going to want to do all of that ahead of time, get ahead of that, because I've had friends who basically got told you can't bring your dog, or your dog will meet you in like a month or two. And that's just not fun, right? And also, you want to keep all their docs and everything ahead of time. If you have to do pet boarding, either on the going outside or the landing side, make sure you lock in the room and board for that pet ahead of time, because again, especially if it's like a quarantine thing like Hawaii, you don't want to find that there's no room and now it's like quarantined at the airport or whatever, like in a less than ideal situation. Make sure you do your homework on schools so that if you're looking to buy a house, you know kind of what area for your kids. And also explain the move to your kids ahead of time. A lot of time with younger kids, they don't even know what's going on. So give them the heads up about the move and what to do to prepare themselves to make sure that everything is kosher throughout the process, right? You want your kids on board as much as possible while moving, especially because if you stay in the military, you're going to do this a lot of times. So the better they get at moving, the better the whole process is every time they move. Some final words here. You are going to move crap that you do not need. Like I guarantee you that you will get to your new space and be like, why did we even bring this? Like, this doesn't matter, like, or whatever. Like, for example, when we moved out to Hawaii, we somehow ended up with my former father-in-law was a big-time cattle farmer, and we had this, like, if you're familiar with cattle, this massive black, it looks like a trash can, but it's like inch-thick rubber. It's basically a trash can that is cow-proof, so like it won't get destroyed when a bull runs into it, full of cow feed, right? Like full of pellets that you would feed to a cow towards, you know, when grain, right? It was full of grain. And this thing, I mean, this monstrous black, we get to Hawaii, kid you not, as they're unpacking everything, we had this massive black, like, I mean, it's like 3 feet, 2 feet, 3 feet in diameter, like 4 foot tall, indestructible black grain bucket full of grain get dropped off in Hawaii. Whoops. and we just left it in the garage for 3 years and then shipped it back to Missouri with us because I'm not going to pay the bill to ship that thing home. So it was ridiculous. So you're going to get stuff you don't need, which is why you need to brief the movers ahead of time and why you need to be present, but also like not a big deal. However, while you're getting stuff out of boxes and you're like, we don't need this anymore, like just toss it. Go a little bit minimalist or sell it on eBay. Like if you don't need it and you get it back at your new duty station, you're like, I didn't need this, like get rid of it. Your movers have the best intentions. They mean well, but this is your stuff. Trust nothing, double check, triple check, quadruple check, like verify everything. Make sure you don't forget anything, just be on top of the whole moving thing. Like that day, be focused. You're going to want to track all your reimbursements, like all of your receipts for gas and food and everything else. You're going to want to track all of that and be cognizant, because just putting all that together can be worth hundreds or thousands of dollars depending on how the move transpired. And you're going to want to make sure you get every dollar you can reimbursed back in your pocket to make this the most beneficial, and or profitable move possible. And reach out to your unit ahead of time. Get connected with a sponsor. Ask for their feedback, especially if you've never been there before, on neighborhoods, on the base, because what you don't want to do is like assume that you found this great neighborhood to buy a house in and then realize down the road that neighborhood is a 45-minute drive from where you're going to be working every day, when there was a better or equally as good neighborhood 5 minutes from your office, right? So like get a hold of your sponsor ahead of time, hop on a call, talk to them, and just be like, yo, what do I need to know? Where should I live? What should I do? What do you recommend? Do you recommend a hotel to stay in for temporary lodging? Like all those things. Ask them. They're there to help you. That's the whole point of having a sponsor at your new inbound unit. Okay, I hope this helped. All this being said, there are a ton of different things that go into permanent changes of station, PCSing, moving across the military. You're going to do it a ton of times, but you're always going to have enough of a gap in between that you may not remember everything. So be sure to save this video and come back to it. Do your homework. And I would say the most important thing is sit and actually pay attention in the briefing from DMO or TMO or whoever it is that you sit in for your branch of service for getting moved. Sit in their briefing, pay attention, and then talk to them and your base finance to make sure you're aware of every single entitlement that you can get and all the allowances and everything else, and maximize those two things for the smoothest transition possible. Get ahead of things, and you may even find that you make a little extra money if you're smart with this on your move. So I hope this helped. What did I miss? I mean, I farmed this out to a Facebook group with 75,000 people in it. I would love to find out that there are still things that I missed that would make people's move easier. So if you've got tips and tricks on PCSing and moving, comment down below so that we can hack all of that and make sure that service members and vets are taken care of during their permanent changes of station and that process goes smoothly. All that being said, I'm Dave, signing off.